All right, here we are recording on Monday night. I'm late. I'm actually in a hotel in Atlanta, Georgia right now. About ready to head back to Dallas in the next few days. But all right, we're going to start a live recording. I'm actually redoing this video based upon just a couple of things didn't work out real well. I didn't have one of the articles ready. I really want to show you guys. This is exciting times. Cueanon, in my opinion, is correct here. Trump is to use the military to build the wall, and he has the funding. I think it's really a stable, genius move, which we'll talk about here. I know a lot of people that listen to these do not necessarily like Trump and respect the fact that I used to be a Democrat and have views that are more in the center. And even though I became a believer in Christ here about 15 years ago or so and had to get more conservative views, my belief and love is to bring Democrats and Republicans together as one nation, patriots, basically taking down the corruption. There's mass corruption being revealed. There's a lot more coming. QAnon's telling us about it. So we need to come together as a country and get rid of the true criminals in our government. Right? I think everybody can agree on that, and that's why I'm asking people that are kind of being vitriol to each other and are very negative on liberals. There's some classic liberals people that love this country. So please don't give up on them. Our job is to awaken everybody, no matter what their creed or religion or their their political views, etc. At this point in time, we're all going to get together and take down this deep state eventually. So let's have the attitude of helping everybody and not give up on anybody, right? So here we are. Again, Trump to use the military to build the wall. Why do I think that? Well, that was that post that we talked about, a very controversial post that I talked about in my last video, right? Was that the clock has been activated. Red castle, green castle, stage 5-5, Q, right? This is a controversial post. A lot of big people had different opinions on this. But I think President Trump confirmed what we thought. What many of us thought and what I taught about in the last video. So let's dig into this a little bit. First, I'm going to go over to make sure everything's going okay. I only have one screen, so it's going to be Mike H. How you doing? Hopefully, yeah, I think the one that you removed, what was removed, I removed the last one. Hopefully, this is working okay. So here we go. What we're going to be digging into is what I went over last time is this red castle, right? This is the logo for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Apologize for mispronouncing that in the last video. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is an exciting part about this, where the red castle, I believe, is what this is talking about here, is the very first post on Q, which talks about the red castle here, right? And then the green castle would be where it's located in Greencastle in Indianapolis. And there's a lot of arguments about this for a couple reasons, and I understand your viewpoint. For instance, this is really a white castle, right? But if you had a red marker and you're going to draw the outline of a castle, it would be red, right? You'd be using a red marker. Now, if this is black and white, I would agree that's a white castle. But to me, this is a red castle. And the fact that there is a green castle Army Corps of Engineers, and I think what's been confirmed now is there's an actual address here. I guess if you call the phone number, it may not necessarily go to this place in Indiana, but there is at least a map location here in Greencastle. But the bottom line is that that's kind of a huge coincidence, and a lot of other people, not just me, are pointing to that. A lot of my interpretations, as you know, are not me. There's brilliant anons out there doing a lot of hard work, and I read a lot on, I guess, what used to be the calm before the storm that used to be on Reddit that got moved to Vote, VOAT, if you want to go find those awesome, brilliant anons there. I also see the Great Awakening on Red Castle. So there's a lot I read and research, listen to some people's videos. I like Isaac Green, for instance. He's the one who did a lot of research on the omnibus, which showed us that, for instance, Planned Parenthood wasn't even mentioned in there as an example of something that will surprise people. But just to let you know, I want to make sure I'm giving credit to other people, and that's why I put all my links in the notes to let people know where I'm getting this information. But here's like in Twitter, here's a variety of people. I think this was God's Army was actually talking about the same thing. So Green Castle, Red Castle being the Army Corps of Engineers. And now Trump confirmed this, right? And that was in his tweet. So here he is on 5:33 a.m. on the March 25th. He says, because of the $700 and $716 billion gotten to rebuild our military, many jobs are created and our military is again rich. But then look what he says, building the border wall with drugs, poison, and enemy combatants pouring into our country is all about national defense. Build a wall through the military. And remember how I talked about last time that he was talking about national defense being the big reason why he signed the omnibus bill? Well, now he's basically saying he can use that money that way. And we're going to see he has a lot more flexibility than people think of not spending money he doesn't want to and being able to spend the money that he does want to, right? So let's just go over real quickly to see. It's just Mike H is over here as the main person. So hopefully we're still going there with Mike. And let me know if anybody on the chat is if we're live and working well. It looks like we're live. But let's go back here. And so we'll look at not only that, is that he put another tweet out right after that, 10 minutes later or so. It says, much can be done with the $1.6 billion given to the building and fixing the border wall. So there's $1.6 billion given to start it. And he says it's just a down payment. Work will start immediately. The rest of the money will come. And I think it's there. And he basically just told us you can build it with the military. So obviously, they could go get experts and contractors, etc. They don't have to do it, but this Army Corps of Engineers are experts at building dams. They're building all kinds of things, which I showed you last time. In fact, I think I showed you right here in this. I'll blow this up a little bit. The Army Corps of Engineers provides information on the U.S. Army and public and civil engineering jobs and public works, including management and construction of military installation, dams, canals, flood control, and hydraulic power generation. So obviously, if you can construct military insulation and dams, you can build a wall. If you can build a dam, you can build a wall. I guarantee you that, right? So that is not going to be a problem at all. And again, Trump tells us he's going to build a wall. So that's pretty awesome there, guys. Here's what I missed last time I want to make sure you see. This was just done on another whitehouse.gov and on March 23rd, just a few days ago. We basically said text of a letter from the President to the Speaker of the House of the Representatives of the President of the Senate. So basically he's telling the House and the Senate what? Basically saying he can spend the money any way he wants to. Dear Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Section 708D of the Division K of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2018, H.R. 1625, the Act, I hereby designate as an emergency requirement all funding so designated to the Congress in the Act pursuant to Section 251 2BBA of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985 for the accounts referenced in Section 7058D. The details of this are set forth in the enclosed memorandum. What this guy means is that he's declared a national emergency because of the balanced budget, saying that he doesn't have to spend the money the way he wants to. And somebody who's done a better job of explaining this is this person right here. This is John Salisbury right here. And he basically walks through what this is about. So let's just read this real quick. Let's talk about what the president can and cannot do for the omnibus bill. There's a lot of discussion both ways, so let's examine how money gets allocated and spent in the U.S. government. I think there's been a lot of analysis, you guys have probably heard it, where it's not a regular budget, where he has to spend the money the way it would be if it was a full budget. But since they did an omnibus, and he said, I want all the money for the military, he got all the money for the military, let everybody put a bunch of crap in there, pork spending stuff. Now he's declared a national emergency. He doesn't have to spend any of that. But he's got the funding that he needs to build a wall, strengthen the military, do military tribunals, actually expanded the IG. As you know, there's a huge IG report. There's going to be a bombshell coming out showing all kinds of corruption, and he can expand that to continue the expansion. And I think that's going to allow us to build more of those sealed indictments as the military tribunals start. So anyway, this omnibus bill gives a lot of discretion. Congress allocates the money to be spent. The president spends the allocated money. Let me blow this up even a little bit more. The Congress, this is number 2. Once Congress allocates money, their job is oversight of the money being spent. They don't spend the money, and they have no say how the money and have no say how it gets spent as long as it's spent legally. That's their job, to monitor with oversight. So as long as President Trump's not breaking the law, he can move that money around and not spend money where he doesn't want to. Once the president is given the money with the instructions to spend it, he has a number of choices to make it in spending it. There are some rules he has to follow, and some of the money is fungible and some isn't. And by the way, Obama did this all the time. He had a lot of omnibus spending bills, and he spent the money the way he wanted. Number 4, however, there are some other factors that are at play here. So one of them is that the president has declared a human rights emergency aid. We know that from December 21st. We saw the executive order for that, right? And has notified Congress that he is invoking the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. And that's what I was telling you about that I just showed you a second ago, right here. That is what he just talked about, the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. So this opens up new options. So by making these two declarations, President Trump has just communicated that he has the authority to not spend any funds he does not deem necessary and will return them to the U.S. Treasury. So funds for Planned Parenthood, he can simply not allocate the funds. Now, I said, Isaac Green did a bunch of research on this, and he said he couldn't even find Planned Parenthood in there. I've had a lot of people tell me that it's been funded by $500 million or something. Maybe it just wasn't defunded. But bottom line is that as far as this funding in this bill, President Trump does not have to spend it. That's a big deal, right? So now we know it explicitly did not talk about abortions, that abortions could not be funded by it. But bottom line, he can move things around, right? Now, also, there are declarations making some funds fungible. For instance, if he determines that building the wall on the southern border is a defense against human trafficking, he can move funds from anywhere else in the Defense Department, allocate, and simply build the wall. Who's the best people to build a wall? People who build dams, the Army Corps of Engineers, right? With the Red Castle as their logo. And one of their locations is based in Greencastle, Indianapolis. Right, here's number 8. Congress is powerless to stop cash reallocations on an omnibus bill and cannot stop the DOD from making measures under a declared emergency. So despite their language in the omnibus bill about the border wall, it is trumped by the state of emergency that Trump declared. So there's going to be lawsuits here, right? That's what he's going to talk about. So in summary, this will go to the courts. Congress will sue the president over the border wall. But here's how it'll play out. And I have to kind of agree with this guy. He's basically saying Congress and the president are co-equal branches with different functions. Congress allocates, the president spends. And here he is saying the president has national security as his primary responsibility, and it's his job to use whatever funds and declaration he needs to for that job. No court in this nation, except corrupt, on-the-take judges, would ever rule against a president for exercising that authority, basically keeping us safe, right? And now he's saying in the end, the Supreme Court, yes, that's where it'll end up, will fully validate the president's constitutional authority and the wall will be built. End. So big, bold prediction there. I can't argue with it. All right. Hey, one thing just to remind you guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to here, like, and share. Make sure you hit this bell on the subscribe afterwards so you'll get all the notifications when I go live so you can participate here. And hopefully, I might have lost my live notifications. Oh, good. Got some of it. Loud and clear, Mike. At least Mike's there this late. So this is really late since I'm recording it for the second time. Thanks for being there, buddy. So here we are going back to, I don't have my second screen because I'm on the road in Atlanta. So here we go. Now, a couple more things I want to cover. The Holman Rule. Here we are. The Holman Rule is this, in fact, this is a liberal person that's very angry that they actually reinstated it. So this is another huge part of this. The fact that they've now reinstated this rule right here that basically says the Holman Rule, named after the congressman who first proposed it in 1876, was nixed by Congress in 1983. The rule, now reinstated for 2017, gives any lawmaker the power to offer amendments to appropriations bills that could legislatively fire any employee or cut their pay down to $1 if the lawmaker so chooses. So you know all the tricks that were played over the last 8 years to put holdovers in positions where they could not be fired? Well, the Holman Rule just gave the power of the Congress and the president to basically fire and or bring people down to $1. That's a big maybe boom, right? About getting rid of the SES that we talked about in the last video. So that is huge. A lot of people have been talking about that. Last thing I'll show you here is that it looks like Speaker Ryan might be rumored that he's going to be leaving or either resigning or not rerunning. So that there's a lot of interesting stuff going there about all, again, add to the list of the congressmen not rerunning and CEOs resigning, right? It's growing and growing every day. Another interesting thing that as you know, the number of electoral college votes go to heavily to like California, and the censuses used to not ask people if they're citizens or not. So all the illegals were counted. Now they've changed that to where there'll be a citizenship questionnaire. So I'm not sure how they'll be able to enforce that, but it could result in the loss of electoral college votes for California and New York, the ones that have the most illegal aliens. Anyway, that's where we're going to wrap that up today. Did want to show you that I had the Jerome Corsi book, a very good book. I recommend it. I'm about a third of the way through it. Does a really fantastic job of talking about all the corruption that's happening, and it's eye-opening, guys. So if you really want to get a real good overview of the last year and a half of corruption, this is a fantastic book by Dr. Jerome Corsi. Recommend getting it. Hey, again, like, share, subscribe, and looking forward to see you guys next time.